Welcome to Talk of the Town. So glad you can join us today. I'm your host, Janet Cresson. We start off right now meeting with Ken Thompson. He's the president and CEO of Capital Bank. So we're talking about community banking. Thanks for joining me today, Ken.
Thanks for having me.
Wondering if you can give a little history of Capital Bank.
Well, Capital Bank was what they call a de novo bank. We were a startup bank back in 1995. And I always say we're a true community bank. We gathered about $5 million of capital back then. And we pulled together about 300 shareholders. And we started the bank from scratch. We had a small group of bankers that came together. And originally, we thought that we would be more of a consumer-based bank, but we actually learned quite quickly that consumers and business owners like to deal with decision makers. So what we did at that point was we really changed our focus to commercial banking, real estate lending, residential real estate, a lot of construction lending. And we've been very successful. We've grown to $350 million in assets, and we have 50 employees.
I saw online that between you and the other two vice presidents, it says you have over 70 years of experience. So
yes, we do.
Got that going for you too.
A lot of experience, and that's really what we do. We brought on other experienced bankers, and that's what the customers seem to like.
Mm-hmm. So I mentioned at the beginning here, community banking, and I'm wondering if you can speak to that a little bit and how customers can benefit from it.
Well, community banking is a term that is commonly used. And it's really become more prevalent since the Great Recession because I think most consumers and individuals recognize the difference between the big banks and the community banks. And I think the community banks, it really is so critical to the banking industry. There are 6,000 banks in the country, and the top 5 hold about half of the assets. So you can see our banking system is really weighted towards the large banks. But the community banks have thrived in this country. And I think that's why that our banking system is so much stronger, because you have these bankers that are in each of these communities, into the small communities. Mm-hmm. And even in the state of Wisconsin, we have just over 200 banks. If you think about all the communities that are served, these bankers are in those communities. They know the people, they know the risk factors, and I think it provides a better system overall. So I think community banking is very important in our banking system.
Mm-hmm. As that small business owner, I think you would feel better working with someone that knows you, knows your business, knows the community even.
Exactly.
Briefly, can you expand on how banking has changed over the years? Well,
when I first started over 25 years ago, it was definitely personalized, a lot more banks. There were 18,000 banks back when I started in the career. Now there's about 6,000 in the country. So there's been this consolidation. Technology has been a big changer. People don't go to the bank like they used to. In fact, our bank, 65% of our deposits come into the bank electronically.
And that's probably only going to grow, I imagine.
Every year it grows. Yeah. Every year it goes up. The regulatory environment definitely changed in the last 10 years. It's really due to the recession and what I call bad behavior within the industry. So that some of that was needed, but those two things are really the biggest changes that we've seen. But it's creating new challenges for bankers. People don't come to the bank. You're not able to talk to them, so we have to be more outwardly focused. For sure. I
have to say, I'm still kind of old school. I do like seeing a face, excuse me, and talking to a person. We need to wrap up. I need to wrap up here. Before we leave, though, I'm sorry. Can you tell me what you think is the most rewarding aspect for you as a community banker? And we have about 30 seconds left.
Okay. Well, it's really just connecting with the customer, understanding the community needs, giving back to the community. We have 20 of our employees that sit on local boards, nonprofit boards, and so we're giving back, we're understanding the needs of the community, and from that standpoint, it's extremely rewarding over time to look back at the influence that you have on the community and your customer base.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Ken. Ken Thompson is the president and CEO of Capital Bank, and they're on North High Point Road. That's sort of Old Sauk in the Beltline area, right?
And we also have a location in Verona.
Very good. Thanks again, Ken. Okay. We have more Talk of the Town for you after this commercial break.